Folks, David here on the Vintage Future. Once again, hope everybody's doing well. Hey, I've been wearing my Warehouse 1001 jeans for over a year now, and so it's time for a fade update. This is what they're looking like. I am really happy with the progress so far, and so I wanted to give you an update. I have about 150 wears into these and 24 washes. I don't think everyone needs to keep track of their jeans with that much detail, but I do because I'm trying to offer you as good a review as possible when I do things like this. So yeah, I'm wearing them 12 to 16 hours at a time when I wear them. I usually, with my jeans or any pants I have, I put them on in the morning when I go to work, and I don't really take them off till right before I'm gonna go to bed. So if you do the math, 12 to 16 hours per wear, 150 times, that's about 2,000 hours of wear. So if you're the newer person in this raw denim hobby, or maybe you've done this a while but you've never kept track of data and you're wondering how long does it take to fade a pair of jeans, well, about 2,000 hours for it to look like this. So obviously if you have a big rotation and you're only wearing these jeans like once every 4 days or once a week, that could take you like 4 years. So you should think about that before you try to get this massive denim rotation. It's going to take you like 4 years to get decent fades on any pair of jeans. If you wear them solid, it could be 4 months to get this. If you're a little more aggressive than me, it could be 6 months. Or if you're just wearing them like me, which is like a little less than half the time, you could just wear them a year and they're going to look roughly like this, with maybe higher or lower contrast depending on how often you wash them and how hard you're wearing them. But yeah, if you just put in the time, you will get decent fades. Even if you're just going to the office every day, just put in the hours, it's going to reward you. And if you don't put in the hours because you're not dedicated to your jeans, or you're just like rotating too many pairs of jeans at the same time, you're just not going to get fades very fast at all, no matter what you do. So anyways, that's that. So 2,000 hours of wear. Yeah, 150 wears, 24 washes. And other than the initial soak the factory gave them, because this is a one wash unsanforized pair, my first wash was after 20 wears. At that point, I felt like the whiskers and stuff had set enough to where I was going to get some of that character into the jeans. But it wasn't so much that I was going for like high contrast fades, which if I did that, I would need to wait to wash them until, you know, like 50 wears or so, you know, or more. Obviously, you could do that. So yeah, 20 wears, and then I washed them. And then after that, I was washing them like every 5 to 10 times. Sometimes less, sometimes more, right? Like if it was wintertime and I was just going to the office to an air-conditioned building and not doing a whole lot, I might push it to 15 wears before I washed them, you know? If it was summertime and I'm sweating a lot, you know, I'm going on walks, going on hikes, you know, I'm doing like a little bit of physical labor on the evenings and the weekends at my house or whatever, if I'm getting them dirty, I'm going to wash them right away. It might just be 1 day of wear for that kind of stuff. I don't really push my jeans further than they need to go before I wash them. As far as how I wash them, I would usually just throw them in the washing machine on a cold, delicate cycle and then air dry them. But 3 times early on when I had these, in an attempt to shrink the top block just a little bit in the hips and the seat, because I'm kind of a slender person, I didn't need that extra volume in the hips and the seat. Those 3 times I actually threw them in the dryer after a warm wash. So I did a warm wash, and I threw them in the dryer on a low heat cycle. And that, yeah, it was successful. As I said, it sucked just a little volume, a little extra fabric out of the hips and the seat. Now, a word of caution, if you ever use a dryer to dry your jeans, your raw denim, first of all, unless you want marbling like you see on a 90s dad fade, you always want to turn them inside out. One of those 3 times I did it right side out just to see what it would do. And of course it marbled the jeans a little bit. And after that, the experiment was over and I decided to move on. And the other thing is, you always want to stuff the legs of your jeans with like towels or something. And then every 10 minutes or so, check and make sure that the towels haven't come out of those pant legs, because otherwise what happens is the dryer will flatten the leg of the jean and you'll have like these knife edge vertical creases on the legs of the jean. And if it's early on in the life of the jean when there's a lot of excess indigo dye still left in the garment, you'll end up with these permanent, unsightly, ugly, silly looking fades on the jean. It'll be like these vertical creases faded right into the leg of the jean that look really stupid, and you're not going to be able to get them out. So yeah, that's the wear and the care. One of the silly things that I did actually was, okay, this is a lighter fabric than any other fabric I've tried before with jeans. It's 13.5 ounces is right on the cusp of being like a really lightweight denim. And so I wasn't used to cuffing such a different kind of material that drapes differently and is actually kind of floppy and doesn't have a lot of structure to it. It took me a lot of experimenting, and it wasn't until 80 wears and 13 washes that I realized the cuffing I was trying to do, which was like a double Tokyo cuff, and I tried some other versions, it just wasn't working out, and I needed to get rid of some of that extra fabric and length. And so yeah, at 80 wears, I chopped them, I hemmed them up to 29 inches, and that hurt because I was obviously chopping off the awesome chain stitch roping that I had, which is unfortunate, but you live and learn. So next time I have a pair of lighter weight denim, I'm going to try to figure out the cuff situation a lot sooner, and I'll probably hem them up early on so that I can really make good on that roping that you get at the hem. Other than that, the fading is really nice. The fading is, I think, what you would call a classic raw denim fade. So it's going to go through all the classic color iterations. So they start out like a dark indigo. In certain lights, they almost look black. At about 30 wears, they really begin to pop. And so at the contrast points, like whiskers, honeycombs, all that, high wear areas, you're going to see this like royal blue, this electric blue start to come out a little bit. By the time you hit 100 wears, the jean has that same color, but it's more generalized. It's like this royal blue, this electric blue kind of across the whole jean, generalized throughout the fabric. As you get past 100 wears, 125, 135 wears, you start to see the white coming through, especially once you hit 150 wears. 150 wears and beyond, they start to overall have this combination of like this steely mid blue. It's like in some places, like the low wear areas, like the lower legs, it's almost like this powdery blue. But yeah, it's like this steely mid blue accented with the white from the high wear areas. As you know, the indigo dye chips out of the yarns, revealing the white core of the yarn beneath. And so yeah, like the thighs, the seat, the knees, around the pockets, any high wear area is going to have that white. And this is the point at which they're just going to get lighter and lighter and lighter until they look this really light blue and mostly white. So that's miles away from me, but you can see where they're at now. They're well on their way at this point. As far as durability goes, they've held together pretty well, other than in the ways that you would expect with a pair of reproduction denim. These are the Duck Diggers. Warehouse has a 1001 that's just their regular jean, which has a lot more modern features on it. The Duck Digger line is the same jean. It's like the same cut and pattern as far as I know, but they're getting kind of crazy with all the vintage details. They're trying to reproduce what this jean would have been like if it was an original 1947 Levi 501. So that's like the big cool thing with these. So what that means is they're made with all cotton thread, not poly thread like we have in modern jeans. The cotton thread's cool. It is pretty durable, but its life is a bit shorter than the poly thread. It doesn't last quite as long. And so once that wears through in areas like the crotch or the pockets, high use areas, then you're going to have to repair it. And that's exactly what happened. At about 100 wears, I want to say like 110 wears, the vertical and horizontal crotch seams gave way. The seams themselves were fine. The fabric is still intact, but the cotton thread finally wore through and broke. And these are chain stitches, you know, so chain stitches are cool for roping, but as far as durability, once a chain stitch gets compromised, it just runs. Like if you just pull the end of it, just the whole seam will come out all the way down. And so once your chain stitching gets compromised, whether it's like in the crotch or the hem, you need to repair it immediately. And so that's what I did. I did it by hand. I did a really sucky job because it was my first time sewing something like that by hand. But I'm cool with that. Like, you're never going to get good at anything if you don't try it, and if you're not okay with failing a bunch of times first. So I tried it. I'm going to keep doing it, and I'll fail less and less as time goes on. But it was really fun. I actually used a thread to replace that thread that's like a poly core with a cotton wrap on it. That's cool, except one thing I found out the hard way, when you use poly thread, or if it's like poly core with a cotton wrap, don't do that thing where you like snip the ends after you're done tying the knot at the end, and then you melt it, you burn it with a lighter. Don't use the lighter on poly thread if it's going to be something that's up against the skin, because whereas cotton thread just burns, poly thread, because there's other elements in there that are kind of plasticky, it sort of melts, and the end of it's kind of hard, and that scratches the skin. So I was having these, like, the first time I wore them after I repaired the crotch, I was having it scratch my inner thigh, and that was not pleasant. So I had to get a hard metal object and like smash it down and then like clip the ends off. No big deal, easy to fix, but just a word of caution if you're going to try to do some hand repairs. Live and learn. So I repaired that. Also, there was like a hole and a messed up seam at the back right pocket, because that's where I have my phone, and I was sitting on the phone and all that stuff. I repaired that. I could have said, oh, wabi sabi, and left it, but I want these jeans to last a really long time. Who knows, maybe 1,001 wears on a pair of Warehouse 1001s. They probably won't last that long, but that would be really cool. So I repaired that. And also the right front pocket where I put my pocket knife, the rivet held strong, but the fabric itself began to tear. And so I sewed that by hand. Once again, I didn't do a great job, but live and learn. And it did the job. It's holding together, and it's going to give these jeans some more miles. As far as features go, everything held together really well. Like the rivets, the buttons, the belt loops, all that kind of stuff is great. And I have no issues with the features, except, as I said in my first review, I don't love the pre-aged patch. Even though they're a reproduction jean, I rather would have had a new patch, like the rest of the jean was new, and it all ages together, right? So that's one thing I don't particularly care for. And then, whereas you can get your hands in the front pockets easily, it was kind of annoying that the front pocket bags are a little bit shallow. So like if I put my hands in the front pockets, my hand goes like 80% of the way in before it kind of bottoms out. So horrible? No. Ideal? No. So I guess the last thing is actually fit. So as far as the fit goes, as I said earlier, I threw them in the dryer for a little bit to take some volume out of the top block. After that, the measurements for me in the top block are perfect. Your mileage may vary, as they say. So the thing I will say about this, though, is front rise and back rise. Those two measurements are really important. So if you've been doing this a long time, you already know that. You don't need convincing. But for anyone who's newer in the raw denim hobby, or just like style in general and doesn't understand measurements, I just want to say the front rise and the back rise measurements are both very important. I know not all manufacturers or retailers always post the front and back rise measurements, but you really want those. And so when they don't, email them, find the back rise, front rise measurement. It'll take a few pairs for you to realize what constitutes a good measurement for you, but it really is worth putting that time in, doing that research. So anyways, my flathead 3005s, they were a little low in the front and the back. Those were like, I want to say 11.75 inch front rise and like a 15.5 inch back rise. These jeans are like a 12.5 inch front rise and a 16.5 inch back rise. That might not seem like a huge difference. That's only 1 inch difference in the back and like 3/4 of an inch different in the front. But that little difference makes all the difference, okay? So this is one of the many reasons I say these jeans are the best that I personally have ever had. The front and back rise are perfect. They're not too high to where they're like up in my belly button area, which to me is uncomfortable. They're not so low that they're crushing my nuts or like they feel like they're falling off or, got plumber's crack going on. They cover everything I want them to cover, but they're not constricting. They're comfortable standing or sitting, and it's not too high, and I don't have like extra material hanging off my rear and everything. So that's cool. That's all I'll say about that, because fit is very subjective. Other than that, it's just about leg taper ratio. The leg taper ratio on this pattern is excellent. Some of that is subjective to your body shape and size. However, a good pattern is a good pattern. So I think some jeans, the leg taper ratio is too extreme. Like they're trying to take, say, like a 9-inch knee and get it down to like a 6-inch opening. That's very extreme. I think it looks a little bit awkward. Conversely, with some of these, you've got kind of the opposite thing going on. It's like, say it's like a 9-inch leg opening, and the knee is like, I don't know, 9.5 inches, you know? So it's like not enough of a taper. And so that gives the appearance of them being like bootcut jeans or whatever. They just billow out at the bottom, kind of weird. The Warehouse 1001 is a genius pattern, and everybody raves about it. It tends to look good on like virtually everyone, no matter how you cuff it, no matter how high or low you hem it. It's just a great pattern because I think the leg taper ratio from thigh to the knee to the leg opening is just really well done. It's not too extreme. It's not too big and billowy. It's just right. Can't say enough good things about this jean. So yeah, that's what it's looking like now. Hopefully there's many more miles to come. And if you have any questions, ask me in the comments below. As I always say, let your jeans take you places more important than the jeans themselves. We'll see you next time.